Casino AI SEO. So if someone's looking to rank better within Google search, but then also be looking to try and get cited more and recommended more by ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, many other LLMs, how can someone who's got an online casino be looking to get better visibility in the LLMs?
So I would say I'm going to strip that back. It's one of the most important things for most casinos to be doing because, we both know we've both been in the casino game for many years. Trying to get positive reviews and things in the casino game is difficult. And 9 times out of 10, if you're looking at you going online in the trust pilots and things like that, most of it's all saying it's a scam. Even though it isn't, it's a completely reputable business, etc. It's just the bad press seems to get there because of the gamblers, right? So for a brand, you'd have to be I would almost say you have to be proactively looking to build positive testimonials. If people are winning money, reaching out to them and saying, can you leave us a review here, etc. I would be all over that. And it's super important when it comes to LLMs, primarily because they're going to start to, they're not going to cite a 1-star casino. They're going to want to cite the best. They're not going to cite a casino where everything says it's a scam, it's insecure or whatever. They're going to take your money, they'll rip you off. It's not going to cite that because it just reflects bad on the LLM.
Yeah. So with regards to iGaming, specifically online casinos, and we're looking to try to get more exposure within the different LLMs, break down the AI reputation tree. So we've got who you are.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the audience what the who you are and defining the entity actually means and give 1 or 2 examples for an online casino?
Yeah, so the who we are attribute would be literally whatever the brand name is. It might be a sub-brand of the main company name. So again, you'd be defining who owns this business, who owns this casino. You'd be defining who's involved, so the founders. You'd be defining if it's an actual limited company or a PLC or whatever setup they've got structurally. When it was founded, you'd be going into those sort of days, how many staff it has, where's it actually located, is it got a physical or is it only online? So you'd be defining all of these attributes within the sort of who they are.
So with regards to that, why is it important to define what people call defining the entity? Why? So, it's like almost, in my opinion, looking to do foundational links.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the foundations and the pivot of exactly who you are. So you can define that. Why is that important specifically to AI to define that entity?
Because if there was we were actually just chatting on this earlier, there was a recent sort of case study done and a LLM will not cite something that isn't an entity. So if you're not defining that entity and making sure it's strengthening across the web, then it might not know about you. So it's never going to cite you.
Yeah, all right. So now we've defined the entity. They know who that casino brand is. There's a brand there. Google knows about it. The LLMs know about it as well. The next part to it, the next part of the AI reputation tree is what you do. So now what you want to be trying to do is connecting all those entity that you've defined attributes. So within casino, it could be slot games. Yeah. It could be table games like roulette and poker. It could even be bingo games and stuff like that. That's all played within the online casino. Why is it important to connect the what you do online to have those connections with entity related to poker, entity related to roulette, entity related to card games like blackjack, entity related to slot games? Why is that part important for LLM visibility?
Because then that starts towards the LLM, starts to provide it with the data around your entity. So it begins to understand the full picture. And if you imagine buckets, it starts to put you in the same buckets as the other casinos. So it might be a big brand and it's in this bucket because it does poker. So then you also get added to that bucket about poker because it understands that these brands all do poker. And that's kind of why you want to define the offering more, essentially.
Yeah. And I also love it in the fact that there's quite a lot of big keywords like best roulette sites, and then it can define the entities, best poker sites, and it can define the entity within that list. And I'm going to move on to now why you're freaking brilliant, right? So Within that, we've spoken about this on the reputation tree, and this is regarding reviews, testimonials, case studies, and awards. Why is that important, that sector and that pillar, for trying to get more visibility in the LLMs for casino sites?
Casino. So it's super important, but primarily because a lot of the sentiment around the brands are usually negative in casino sector. Unless you're willing to get on top of that quite early on, it is going to be a negative sentiment. So staying on top of that then helps. That most LLMs will only push, unless you really ask them, they'll only try to push you down the way of a positive sentiment or a good brand, or they won't confidently define your brand either. So if your brand is super positive and it's got a positive sentiment, it's got all of the achievements and awards and everything else that's around that, and you've defined the entity well, it could eventually get to a point where it says, this is the best slot site for specific game. This is the best RTP or reward for a game, etc. And that's what you're kind of aiming to do. Give it enough confidence so it will literally say, these are the number one.
Yeah, and then the last part, the fourth pillar of the AI reputation tree, is why you are better than competition. Now, this is a strange one because the amount of casino brands that we speak to that at first kind of hold back and say, I do not want to mention my competitors. And you're like, no, you have to. You want to be doing these comparison articles, the versus articles, the listicles, which again is comparing yourself against your competition. Because if you don't do the comparison, somebody else will, and it might not be done in a way of what you want it to sound like. Why is it important for anyone that owns a casino operator, or it could be a casino affiliate website, and they're looking to improve online? Why is it important for that casino site to do the comparison against other casino brands?
So it's kind of just what I touched on before with the whole bucket analogy, with like poker being a bucket, slots being a bucket. It's the exact same with company names as well. So it knows that this company is about these entities, like these attributes are around this company. So if you connect your entity to another entity that's got the similar buckets, then it almost gains confidence with your entity as well. But then another example of that would be the way it can improve if you say versus, and I think it's like an old school methodology of SEO. People were scared to link out to competitors, and I think that's where it comes from. You don't want to link to them. But the reality is with LLMs, you don't need to link to them. You don't even need to link to your own website. You actually just, the way you format the content is the vouch. Like, you get that publisher, you don't need the backlink.
So on that there, with regards to, you're talking about micro-semantics.
Yeah.
So within semantic SEO, those micro-semantics, that sentence structure is so, so important in connecting you with another brand, a competitor, and written in a way that makes you sound better than that competitor. So if then you've got to try and look at the pros and the advantages over you. So let's say you've got 96 table games and they've only got 93. You're saying how you've got more table games than this competition. If you've got less, you don't talk about that part. If the RTP of a specific slot game of what you have is better on a specific slot game, you talk about, we have got higher RTP payouts for this slot game inside of our casino in comparison to competitor. Yeah. And I think trying to do all those is a great way of feeding those LLMs to be, from a comparative point of view, now you're in the right bucket, now you're being seen alongside each other. But the last part to it is, normally LLMs like ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, Gemini, they'll normally list, here's 4 or 5 different ones. And if there was 4 or 5 different casino brands, sometimes they might go and do those actual searches. This casino brand versus this casino brand. And it could be difference between having that first-time depositor and registration and not, if you didn't write the article in saying why you are better than them. Is there anything else then with regards to LLM visibility for casinos that you would look to try to do? Or is that, like, explain to me why we've called it the AI reputation tree and why we think that doing all 4 of those, if you didn't do one of those 4 pillars, why it's kind of missing the trick, like why you need to start with rinse and repeat on defining the entity. Why then you need to move on to then the who you are, the what you do, why you're freaking brilliant, and why you're better than competition. Why are all four of them important for the AI reputation tree?
They're all basically fundamental to how an LLM understands what the entity is. So you basically just need all four, and it's undisputable that essentially that you just need all four. And one thing we didn't really mention was like social media and how that's also important. You know, a lot of casinos, and we were guilty of it when we ran casinos. We didn't do a lot on social media. We didn't do many tweets. We didn't do many Facebook, LinkedIn. We didn't really do any posts on any platforms. And they are like pretty fundamental now when it comes to LLM optimization as well. So, you know, getting on those social platforms and just making those tweets about various different games. But again, it's all about the content you're creating as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, the big one with regards to Casino AI SEO, the reason why those four pillars are really important is because of query fan out as well. So it extrapolates synthetic queries, expands on the search of what you've initially done. And if you want to be recommended by ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, you need to be doing those four pillars. So I will hope you like this video. If you're a casino operator and you think we've missed anything out, specifically about AI SEO and getting cited more within the LLMs, leave a comment in the comment section. But Karl, it's been an absolute pleasure.